And greetings from beautiful Augusta, Georgia, where it is now late November and I am wearing shorts. What the heck is up with that? You know, when I was a kid, they were talking about the new ice age, then they started talking about global cooling, then they started talking about global warming, then they just changed it to climate change. I just call it living in Augusta, Georgia. I'm going to real quick, I do have a point here. I want to show you what's left of the back garden here. If you can see it, it's, well, it's kind of sad. We just haven't had the weather for a good fall garden this year. Well, we'll have enough greens for Thanksgiving, but that's probably going to be about it. The weather just has not cooperated. But that's why we have reserves of food from the summer garden. We don't ask the government to come in and replant everything in the middle of November. Because that just doesn't make sense. And that brings me to my little rant on a Sunday afternoon today for you. And I do want to recap real quick before I get into this, because I just don't want these videos to seem policy wonkish, and they are, but I want you to be able to continue to get the context of what I'm trying to say to you. So, we've talked about the fact that the Constitution is a contract. We've talked about the fact that a contract involves several different parties. In the terms of the Constitution, it is a contract between you, me, the people, the states, and the federal government. We've also talked about the fact that when one party starts violating the contract, then they are in, well, breach of contract. And our federal government is so far in breach of contract that really at this point we ought to be revolting because of the fact of they are in breach of contract. Our country is $23 trillion in debt. And why is that? Well, that's because the government has decided to go in when somebody has a garden that does not work out the way that they really wanted it to, and they decide that they're going to fix it. And they start planting seeds in the middle of, well, late November, when those seeds are never going to grow. So I've brought up to you the fact that the Department of Education is not constitutional. Now I'm going to bring up something, another agency that is wholly unconstitutional and is nothing but a drain on all of us. And it's one of the reasons we are $23 trillion in debt. And that is the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Now, you've probably heard what that is, but you probably don't know what it is. This is the government coming in and going, we're gonna fix a slum. So, now you know I live in Augusta, Georgia, and you know that Augusta, Georgia is the home of the Augusta National and the Masters. Well, several years ago, the Augusta National, and we don't know how much money they spent because they really don't tell anybody, but it was probably to the tune of about $30 million. They went and bought up every piece of property along Berkman's Road, and they paid good money for every person that owned property out there. And then they tore down every freaking house. And what it looks like now is a gigantic park in the middle of Augusta. That's how they offer free parking to everybody who comes to the Masters, who is lucky enough to come to the Masters. Let's put it that way. Okay, 30 million bucks, and they turned it into a jewel. And as a matter of fact, you drove by Washington Road one day, and there were businesses there. Jiffy Lube, there was a music store. They raised those buildings. And overnight, the next day when you drove down Washington Road, there were fully mature trees along the side of the road. They transformed the landscape. It was beautiful. It is beautiful. I'm proud of them. On the other hand, over the past 25 years or so, the government has spent $60 million on a 5 square mile patch of land in downtown Augusta that we know of as the Laney Walker Boulevard District. $60 million, folks. And I'm not going to go down there and take any pictures because it's kind of dangerous to go down there. Look it up on Google Maps, Google Earth, whatever. You'll see what it is. That's the Department of Housing and Urban Development. They decided to go down into that area and just redo it. And it's worse than it was before. So as a reporter years ago, I wanted to figure out where all that money went. 60 million bucks. So I contacted the Federal Housing and Urban Development and I told them, I said, folks, you spent all this money, but I don't see anything really happening down here. Where did the money go? And they said, well, we don't know because it's not our money. And I went, wait. No, you're the Housing and Urban Development. You spent the money, right? They said, well, no, we didn't spend the money. We gave the money to the state. Okay, so I called the state Housing and Urban Development Department, who was actually at the time being run by our former mayor, Bob Young. And I was told, oh, well, that's not our money. I mean, we got it from the federal government, but it's not our money. And I'm like, 60 million bucks? Who did you give it to? Oh, well, we gave it to the city of Augusta. Oh, okay. So I called the city administrator here in Augusta. And I said, okay, 60 million bucks. It all went through. Where did it go? City administrator told me, we were just a conduit. It's not our money. Okay, it's not the federal government's money, it's not the state's money, and it's not... Who in the hell got the money? Oh, a private corporation, a 401c3 called ANIC. The Augusta Neighborhood Improvement Corporation. Okay. Now you know what HUD is. HUD is taking your federal tax dollars and giving it to people to fund their lifestyles, basically, because they haven't fixed the slum. The Augusta National was able to go in and buy up an entire neighborhood, redevelop it, completely redo it, and make it look pristine for half of the amount of money that your taxpayer dollars went to just make a slum worse. And if $60 million was spent in Augusta, Georgia, just think about the amount of money that has been spent across this nation doing the same damn thing. You want to drain the swamp, I understand. That's why you're watching these videos. That's why you have stayed with me with these videos. You want to drain the swamp. It's not going to be one man in office in the presidency. It's not going to be one political party. We the people are going to have an Article 5 convention, start making demands on this government that they don't do this crap anymore, that we don't do this. I do not need your help with my garden. Don't want your taxpayer money. I don't need your help with my land, my house, nothing. End roll.